Okay, so it's been way too long and I took far too long with a follow-up video to my last couple of videos, which is annoying because I did loads of content that is now useless. To explain what happened, just after I got on the swing and make my last two, I got a cancer diagnosis and everything had to stop. So I'm here now, have hopefully finished chemotherapy's done, and I hope that's everything done. I'm just waiting on some results, but in the meanwhile I thought I'd get back into making videos, and I hope you stick around for them. Today I'm going to be talking about Guardians of the Galaxy and where I think they're going to go with the franchise, because Disney are not going to stop with 3 films that have been successful. They're going to want to make more, and if you haven't seen the third one yet, probably don't watch this video, or watch the third one and come back, or just watch the video. I don't care, it's up to you. I'm not going to be forced to do anything, but in the meantime, sit back and enjoy, and maybe grab ourselves a drink, and then we'll have a wee talk about Guardians of the Galaxy 4, 5 and 6 and what I think they could do for that series. Thanks guys. Guardians 1, 2 and 3 all did like a villain of the week type thing, in that each film had its own particular villain. They all had a unifying theme, which was great. I think that was nice. It was like it's a whole family thing. Well, the first one was mother, then it was father, and then it was family in general, or siblings, to be more precise, I think James Gunn said, which is great. And I'm not going to actually question James Gunn on that. I think he had a great idea for it. But if you were going to do 4, 5 and 6, do something a bit different and have an overreaching plot and have like an overreaching villain. And I was thinking it's either Magus or the Magus. I'm going to go with Magus would be the perfect villain for it, especially because he is such a big deal, and now that Adam Warlock is in the MCU, we can introduce this character. Should we drink first? This is part of being sick thing. I need to keep my mouth constantly moist. Don't pervert that. Or do, because I do the same. So there'll be multiple versions of this character. I think 3 currently in Marvel. And if I was going to be using him, or personally if I wanted the MCU to use him, I would go ahead and take parts of all of them. They kind of did that in the Guardians game on the PlayStation, and that's actually the perfect sort of Magus to use to a certain extent. As abilities go, he has all of Adam Warlock's abilities, so flight, super strength, energy protection, and whatever else Adam Warlock can do in the MCU. The only difference is he is usually, not usually, at least one of his versions is from the future, and he's traveled back in time to make sure Adam Warlock becomes him. So he has more experience with his powers, and all the versions being evil are more willing to use those powers to hurt people, which makes him far more dangerous than Adam Warlock, who wants to do good as best he can. Plus, he's got a cool purple design. Well, not all of them. I would maybe question the choices of the original design of giving him the afro and the tiny little shorts. I don't find that as intimidating, though then again, if I woke up with that standing over me at the end of my bed, I may be quite intimidated. So who knows? But I generally think Magus is the perfect option for the MCU. It gives the Guardians an overreaching villain to go up against throughout their films. It keeps it fresh that way. Now, it wouldn't just be like that. They wouldn't just be fighting him constantly, and that's where we'll get to, because he has something that makes him quite unique compared to a lot of other MCU villains, bar 1 I can think of, sorry, 2 I can think of off the top of my head. I'm going to get to that next. Have you noticed I'm wearing purple and black here in honor of talking about Magus? No, that was just a coincidence, but we're going to say it was real and planned, because I'm not a complete idiot. Or am I? So like I said anyway earlier, let's get back to this. Taking a page from the Guardians of the Galaxy game, I wanted to use that version of Magus. But I like the evil Warlock from the future aspect as well. I know it's a bit cheesy, but come on. These are like, they're meant to be fun, cheesy things. Why not have a bit of fun with it? Now, what makes the Magus so dangerous, at least in a couple of his incarnations, depending who you look at, is he is a leader of the Universal Church of Truth, which is, well, a universe-spanning church that is designed to worship him. And I would like to see that church be used in the MCU, because you think about all the things that have happened, at least in what we've seen so far. There's two big things that affect the universe. First of all was the snap and its fallout and obviously being undone. That's going to screw up a lot of people's beliefs and religion. You know, people will be looking for new answers, and if there's someone coming around who is as powerful as Adam Warlock but bigger and badder, who is the leader of the Universal Church of Truth, can't spell that, then people are going to follow him, for better or for worse. And yeah, like, then you have to add in the fallout from Guardians of the Galaxy 3, where it already mentions how the High Evolutionary is worshipped by a god, by some species, the ones he created. They'd be looking for a new leader as well now that the Guardians, you know, well, they didn't kill him, but they left him for dead and dismantled everything he ever worked on. So you've got a lot of people out there who are looking for a truth, and, well, why not have evil Adam Warlock step into it? And I think that would be an interesting one to do as well, especially because there's another Guardian out there who is linked to a religious movement of their own, and that is something I want to get into later on as well, because that would be in film 5. I've got a plan, a very loose plan of how I want this to happen. So let's get into what my thoughts are for what could happen next with Universal Church. Film 4, you would not see Magus, or Magus. Again, I'm not sure. I'm going to go with Magus. I have to stop, make up my mind and do this. You'll not see him. You'll hear talk of him, and you'll definitely see the church. It will maybe start out as something altruistic. I would bring in another character who has nothing to do with Magus, Michael Korvac, as a member of the church from Earth that's been embraced by Warlock and given all these powers. In the comics, it's complicated, but he's from a future where aliens took over Earth and they experimented on him, and he's all messed up in the head. He's more a victim than anything, and I think you could do a really good thing with the character where you could have him be a member of this, well, just cult. Because let's face it, any church is a cult one way or another. I know a lot of people don't like to hear that. I'm not saying all churches are evil. I'm not saying all cults are evil either. There's definitely differences there. And this video is not where I'm going to get into that topic. But to have this guy who maybe would go around just wiping out civilizations at the head of this church, that would be a good way to bring the Guardians into contact with him. If you want a good example of him, there is I think if you have Disney Plus, Avengers, was it United They Stand? Was it? I don't know. No, that was the terrible 90s one. Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes have a one episode dedicated to him where they've changed some stuff up, very simplified it, and the Guardians of the Galaxy briefly appear with a very British Rocket Raccoon, which is actually quite funny. They also have Groot in Guardian's costume, which looks pretty cool. He's got little shorts. But basically he has energy projection and all the other basic superpowers, and is very hard to kill, and is pretty much a ticking time bomb of power. And yeah, you could really do a lot with that. Just you know, that bit of religious zealot who has lost faith in everything. You can maybe say that he came from Earth, and you know, either he didn't get his family back because they died during the snap or because of the snap, and he himself has just gone crazy, and he has gained these powers by serving the church. And you know, we can maybe even mention that it's actually he's some sort of mutation, you know, lead things into other things. But at the end of the film, he'll be defeated by the Guardians and not necessarily killed, maybe saved, because I think that would be a more unique ending, because they do a lot of murder, and that's a fact. If you really look at these films, they kill a lot of people, and believe me, I'm all for it, because usually they're bad guys and it looks pretty cool. But I'm talking about trying to do something different here, especially with Rocket leading them. Maybe he would take pity on this guy, because let's face it, Rocket as a child, cub, not sure, you know, loved the High Evolutionary. He generally had affection for this guy. He worshipped him to a certain extent and expected great things from him, only to be turned around and screwed over by him. Maybe he would see something of himself in this guy who's fallen for the lies of this church. Or maybe they would save him, but at the end, Magus would appear and kill him and then just leave. And that would lead them on to the next film, which is where I'm going to start bringing in other stuff from previous Guardians films there, or at least one other character. For Guardians 5, I would bring Mantis back. I'm going to take some of her past plot points from the comics, but further alter them, because Mantis in the comics is problematic and weird at times, but also I like the new version more. And this, I actually did enjoy some of the stuff they did with Mantis originally. Maybe not her hooking up with the tree, that was a bit weird. Yes, she sleeps with the tree at one point, and by sleep I mean she has sex, coitus, whatever you want to call it, with the tree that looks like the swordsman. Yeah, like I said, they get weird. But one of her big plot points from the comics is, and also the video game, is that she is a religious figure of her own, known as the Celestial Madonna, which is a bit crazy. But again, we are currently have a team here which has, you know, a golden man that was born like yesterday, a talking tree, a talking raccoon, and, you know, other aliens. It's not the weirdest thing we've seen in the MCU or heard. So you would have her as leader of a church that again would probably upset Magus, who would then kidnap her, as well as other church leaders, you find out, and this would lead to the current Guardians team going after her to try and save her. Because I'm guessing Palm Clementine wants out of the MCU or wants to step away from things. So this would be a small role, it wouldn't be much for her, but would allow her to still be relevant, because I think she quite likes her fans and stuff, you can see. So anyway, you would, no matter what the Guardians would feel in this aspect, they would not be able to save her. But it would be a really good ride, a good fun time. You could still do all the other stuff, the music, things like that. And at the end, they would realize that they're no match for this guy. They're going to need help. And this is where maybe they would have to go back and either get new members, or in my ideal, go to Earth at the end and get Star-Lord. Because we were getting promised he'd be back in future films. And also, I'd like to think that if his half-sister, or sorry, his sister was kidnapped, he would step out of retirement to go save her, because he clearly cares about family and he does care about her. So that's where I would like to see that one going. And now for number 6 and my thoughts on that one. For Guardian 6, it will be an all-out war against the Universal Church. You'd have Star-Lord back, and we'd be able to bring in some new members for the Guardians, or new allies. For instance, last surviving member of the Nova Corps. Moondragon would be another option. And there's really obscure ones, like the original, some of the original Guardians of the Galaxy team members, which I'll talk about in future books, because that is crazy, that stuff. And I don't want this video to get too long, so you don't get too bored. But some of them are pretty cool. And what we would find out is Magus' plan the whole time was to get what was left of the Infinity Stones, or Infinity Gems, we call them. Because, you know, you can't actually destroy matter, so that's how I'm working on it. I get it, they were magical stones. Maybe there'd be fractional powers of them left and bring them together to make, well, the Cosmic Cube, because we don't have that in the MCU yet. And in the comics, he was very much tied to the Infinity Stones, so having them that way would be interesting enough. And this is where we'd have the Guardians plus any new allies going after the Universal Church to stop this from happening. And his other plan would be obviously to use this Cosmic Cube to execute leaders of all these other churches to prove that his religion is the best. He's an arrogant bastard in that way. That is kind of where I see this going. It would just be, you could still use this film to be, it's the same silliness of the previous ones, but also the same level of violence as the previous ones, which I think people have come to love. And it's a good way of getting the whole gang back together and, you know, taking out the big bad. And this, at least this way, this solves the other MCU problem of killing off bad guys. I absolutely hate that the MCU keeps killing off bad guys, especially when they're really good ones, except for High Evolutionary, which is terrible to say because the actor that played him was fantastic. I just, oh my god, hated that guy. He was a pompous asshole and he was just the worst. So yeah, but you look at Thanos and Loki, guys they kept bringing back, guys they kept developing. That's what made them great. So create this villain, have him teased in the first film, have him proven nearly unbeatable in the second film, and the third film have the team come together to beat him again and put him in his place. And you know, we introduced the Cosmic Cube, which is a great plot device that can be used in future Marvel films. Have it get lost, and yeah, if someone else wants to pick it up and use it in something, they can, because let's face it, they're going to. And that's like my very basic outline for how I like the Guardians 4, 5, and 6 to go. Keeping Rocket as team leader as well, I think it's such a really good progression for the character. Plus it's an easy paycheck for Bradley Cooper and Vin Diesel. I'm not saying they've phoned it in, but they have a lot less work to do than, you know, Dave Bautista or Karen Gillan, who, you know, have to go through all that makeup. Anyway, actually would love to hear your opinions on it. Like, would that be a series of films you watch, or would you make other changes? And which characters from the Guardians would you like introduced? And yeah, in time I'm going to be doing videos in like the original Guardians and Nova and Moondragon, because they're interesting characters in their own right, and we could try and find some way to fit them into the current Guardians canon. Some won't work, some would work, but again, the characters are kind of that obscure to the general public that you can do a lot with them, and sometimes the changes work. Like I mentioned earlier with Mantis, James Gunn took a problematic character and made them very fun. And again, that's, her actress does a very fantastic role in making that, you know, happen as well. So it's a bit of a team effort in that. But yes, I've talked too much now, so I'm going to sign out here. And again, I'd love to know all your opinion on this. So I'm going to try and make these more common and get these videos out more regular, as long as I keep getting good information from the doctors. So wish me luck, guys, and hope you all enjoyed. Thanks.